Hello and welcome to Better Spend Management for CAS Practices. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and Corpay One. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for at least 50 minutes. In addition, we will display 3 polling questions during the webcast. You'll need to record an answer for all 3 of the questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching. You will receive an email by the end of the day today that contains a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the requirements for CPE. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people watching on the same computer. So if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event with you, please have them join you now. And at the end of the event, we'll provide an opportunity for you to send us their email addresses so they too can get CPE credit. At any time, you can enter questions in the Ask a Question box provided on your screen, and our speakers will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during the broadcast will be addressed by the speakers afterwards via email. The slides for this presentation are available for download in the Event Resources box at the bottom left side of your screen. And in addition to that, our presenters have added 3 additional resources for you: a brochure, a case study, and a PDF. So you'll learn more about those during the presentation. Today, we are joined by Bob Lewis, Senior Vice President of the Accountant Channel at Corpay One, and Jeremy Van Grohl, Founder and President of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. I'll let Bob and Jeremy introduce themselves, and then we are ready to begin.
Gail, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. It is just a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for investing some of your time here, and hopefully we can add value, and you can take away some good learnings from today. Our webinar, Better Spend Management for CAS Practices, helping share some innovations in the category. I'm Bob Lewis, as Gail shared. I lead the Accountant Channel at Corpay One. I've been in the business, in the industry for quite some time, was a CPA in my very early days as a professional, and I've spent the better part of 20 years now as in sales and accounting for accounting software, the last 10 years in spend management, which is bill pay and other solutions. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. And with that, Jeremy, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Gail and Bob, thanks for inviting me as well. Such a pleasure to spend time here. So Jeremy Van Grohl, I am the owner and president of Nonprofit Bookkeeping. And we really are a niched accounting and bookkeeping firm that focuses all financial aspects of nonprofit management, right? So anywhere from the blocking and tackling, transactional stuff, all the way up to CFO type services. Really anything that we can do for nonprofit leaders so they can focus their time on revenue, donors, and delivering on the mission.
And yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. And it's great to have you here. Jeremy's going to be sharing some of his learnings using platforms like Corpay One in his delivery of, of his bookkeeping service, client accounting service, with nonprofit accounting. All right, so our learning objectives today. So there's a few key topics and then hopefully some learning objectives there. So the first, I'll run through some of the technology shifts that are happening today in functional platforms. So we're seeing some shifts. We'll go into a little bit of that. It's really a foundation of why these platforms are changing. And then specifically, how it's evolving in this category, spend management. Talk about how the addition of card into the bill pay and expense reimbursement platforms is adding additional value and helping firms manage that process for clients. And then we'll go into some of the new capabilities around AI and advanced workflows, So bringing in that accountant intelligence to things that can make the process simple, better, more sophisticated, more efficient, and then plenty of time for questions. So with that, I will jump in and talk a little bit about here. These are some of the main functional categories. There's the core of accounting, your GL, your accounting system, your QuickBooks, your Xero, your other, core accounting systems. And then often we're adding on solutions to complete that technology stack for a client. And there's a few categories where there have long time been best of breed solutions. For example, in the employee management, payroll, long time, great solutions, just focused on payroll. And then, in the last few years, we've seen that evolve to include HR, to include benefits even. So now in that category, even the longtime providers bring along an HR capability, and some of them add on benefits or have an add-on you could buy. Maybe it's part of their stack, maybe it's an add-on. But the new and emerging players are bringing it all as one integrated solution. And it's changing the game in that category. Sales and marketing is similar. We're seeing, upmarket Salesforce.com's brought it all together. HubSpot, a little bit down market, or even somebody like Constant Contact, thinking about how you can keep track of your outreach, your sales process, and your account management in one system. And so rather than going into all these, in spend management, we'll skip ahead there. We see a combination of payments, accounts payable, expense reimbursement, corporate card, and even upmarket things like purchasing, POs, supply chain management, and this is wonderful for businesses because they've got one solution that can automate that process. So in the small business segment, we're seeing that to be these functional things: the corporate card, the scanning of the document and the data, the approval process. Perhaps there's an advanced workflow. We're going to talk about what that means in a little bit. Paying the bills, expense reports and reimbursements. So that's what we could see come together. We're seeing come together now in the small business segment. And as you go up a little up market, and in some industries that are more mature and require it a little bit lower down, you're seeing POs and procurement capabilities. So these look for more and more as one integrated suite connected to your accounting system. All right, so that brings us to, after covering that foundational info on kind of what's going on, our first polling question.
All right, so we would like to know what the maturity is of your CAS practice. And the options in this question are exploring, I'm interested in learning more and still evaluating; committed, planning on starting one soon; getting started, it's still early and I'm working to ramp up the practice area; we're in growth mode, we've defined processes and are scaling to grow the business; or we're in maintain and improve. We have a mature practice focusing on fine-tuning services and profits. So pick the answer that is most relevant to your practice. And we'll leave that up here for a few more seconds to give everyone a chance to enter their answers. We'll close this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And it looks like we're seeing about 39% are in the exploring mode, which is great. So you're still just figuring out what to do and how to do it.
Yes, exploring, and then another 12 at committed. Hey, we're doing it. And then, so we're in the earlier discovery phase for for most, about half, a little more than half. And then for those that are, about half are still in the early phase, getting started. So that's helpful then for us to think about as we talk further, and maybe for some of the color that Jeremy shares as he's I would say I'm guessing, what stage would you say you're in with this, Jeremy?
Oh, I think growth mode, right? I think we're getting a good foundation of tools to be able to offer some great value out there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with growing.
Yeah, great. So, all right. And so then what are some of the benefits of adding a platform, right? So we're seeing firms join and for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's they want to expand their services. They haven't offered bill pay before, and they want to have a more complete solution. And our platform doesn't have many costs associated. So that's one. Reducing costs, sometimes we're seeing as well. So we see some firms today they're using a solution for bill pay. They're using a solution for expense reports. They're using another solution for document capture. They're paying a fee for each. And hey, they may all be integrated nicely into their core accounting system, but it's 3 systems, 3 different integrations. The likelihood of issues goes up, and the costs too. So we're seeing that. We're seeing some who really like those other solutions. They've used them a long time, but they find that the costs are prohibitive for their small clients. So they still do those manually, or they just ask that the clients still do bill pay. So I think there's a number of reasons. And so I'm sure those reasons may be different for those on the call. Jeremy, what motivated you to look at this for your bookkeeping business, CAS practice?
Yeah. So like a year ago at this time, we never had a bill pay solution at all, or really any tools that we were trying to leverage to just make things easier and more automated. But jumping in kind of feet first with Corpay One, it just gives us an allowance on, so like every time there's a consultation call where we're exploring a new relationship with a client, previously it was tell us your bill pay process and how it works, and you're thinking in the back of your head, ooh, how do I get this into the books the most efficient way possible, and what's that time? And now it's more like, how do we have the solution, and I'm able to monetize that with them, where it not only takes away time out of the equation to get information in there, but it really just brings things together, gives better clarity. And like, I can see the value very quickly for them when we can put a solution like Corpay One in place, where all the bills are coming in, we can see where they are in the process. So, and again, it gives us another way to monetize our support services, and we get involved with them on the front end, right? So if you're always just on the back end, transaction coding, all of that, you get to see spend on the front end when you see their bills come in and you're working through the bill pay process. Are there new solutions? Are there new contractors? How does that lead to better engagement and more conversations with that client?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I assume, previously then was your regular meeting with the client, was it once a year or once a quarter, once a month? And now when you're for those clients you're providing bill pay services to, has it changed? How's that really changed the relationships?
Yeah, I mean, you just get integrated more. So again, I'm in the nonprofit space, and if I see, hey, an invoice coming around for a grant writer, right away I have all sorts of questions that I can ask them, like, what is this new revenue stream? What is your expectation there? How does that work with your budget? Do we now need to add budgetary services and support for that? Or is there additional tracking and information that we need to be able to maintain for you to give the donor the right reporting? And really just get ahead of things, as well as dig deeper into their goals and where they're going with that spend.
Interesting. So in addition to being more consistent, more conversations with the client, which I assume is a deeper relationship, it's also the knowledge of seeing what they're actually doing. And this example here of seeing a grant writer oh, they're looking to expand their grant funding sources. So growth is coming, complexity is changing. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we think about it, I think, the view of this consolidated spend management platform, right? Bringing together card plus bill pay plus expense reimbursement, having one integrated platform for all spending helps have a complete view of all client spend. It could be, in our case, and I think I assume some of the others out there that are doing this now, it's easier to learn and use. You have one system for staff, for clients, which makes, you don't have three systems to learn, you have one, and different modules. So maybe there's a little bit more to learn in that new system, but it's just one. And then integration into the accounting system, that gives you the value of having all that in one place with the same coding process. So, and the same depth. So that's a big benefit. So I've got a few screenshots here and some content around what that is like, so you could see, hey, what does a bill pay platform look like for those who haven't before, and having it all in one place. So today's platforms have a modern UI, and then bring together. You can see bill pay, card, expense reimbursement is in here as well, and even connecting with us, right? You can schedule a call to get some help right from within the product. Is one example. Get a demo. In the early days of learning it, you can engage with our team to learn more about the product, to chat and get support and help and all that. So so this is one area, and so Jeremy, you use the bill pay solution as the core of your process. How's that changed the way clients send you information?
Yeah, I mean, the interface itself is just nice looking, right? And you talked about that, but the functionality takes it to that next level, right? So like an example I would have is we have a client that has chapters in 20 different states. And so we had information coming from everywhere, right? So they have things emailed to their administrative assistants, paper mailed to the executive director, emails going to the treasurer, and all of it is everywhere. And no one has any idea on where things were and how things were getting paid and if they were and what stage they were getting paid. So it really just brought order to the chaos. Like, we got involved and said, hey, this is crazy. You guys said this is crazy. Let's have a tool and put this together. So here's your email address. Everything goes there now. Is it a bill? Is it a thing? It doesn't matter. Everything we need to go to this email address, right? And then it gets into the workflow. Everybody's got visibility to it. And then you can also just see like every step of the process. So like there's a good timeline, right? Here's where it came in. Here's the approval. Here's where it goes out, when you expect to get it paid, all of that. So again, just wrangles everything together.
Yeah. So that's it. That's a great story. 20 locations and the complexity there. And what Jeremy's talking about is for each client, we create a customized email so that they can submit bills directly into bill pay, or receipts directly into Corpay One. And so you have that one spot where the documents come in, and then our system scans the document. We get the information from the document, pre-populate the fields here. The first time we get a new vendor, we ask for your help to code what that expense type is. But going forward, it remembers. So, it has that intelligence from what happened before. And so that saves a lot of time and keeps one centralized place for tracking. There's other ways to get documents in. You can scan them and upload them. You can key it in. You can use your own portal and just move them over, drag and drop from from your other folders. So there's a bunch of ways, but I like that Jeremy's using the email input, which is the most efficient, so that it automatically comes in, it scans, you see it, you're there, it's good.
Yeah. And the recurring vendors, you just give them the email address directly, right? Like there's the approval process built into Corpay already. Just send the bill there, we'll get it all coded, and then the executive director or business owner, whoever it doesn't even have to see the bill until it's ready, coded, and they can look it over and give their blessing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So now the addition of card. So with some of these platforms now, we're seeing the addition of a corporate card. And so, companies are spending money in a bunch of ways. One of those ways is, they commit to buy something and then they get an invoice. We call that a bill. Another very popular way is using your corporate card to purchase, or credit card that the owner, or in the nonprofit situation, the executive director or the treasurer maybe is using to buy things. And so we make that now super easy, where you can set up a card, have a specific credit limit for the client, and then we help figure out what that credit limit should be. But where the firm would decide, hey, what kind of card it is, or the person signing up for the card. Is it a card for all kinds of spending? Is it limited to just travel and expense, or fuel and maintenance? If it's a client that's a plumber and has vehicles and they've got people out on the road, and they want their drivers to be able to fuel up the vehicle, but you can't go into the mini mart for cokes and smokes, if you will. And so it helps them stay on track, right? And there's other specific things with fuel reporting that is important as well. So regardless of that type of card, what we're doing now is putting the firm in control. So you can help order cards, and you can also manage the cards as part of the process. So, and then similarly, there's information on that spend. So like you would normally have with bill pay, also for your corporate card, or in your accounting system, where's your spend? So, I could imagine spending by category could be very helpful when you're doing grant tracking. So I don't know, Jeremy, what's the manual process for grant tracking versus automated? How much value does that add?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen everything from the paper and pencil on the old, like, green striped sheets, to normally you get it on a off system Excel sheet that then you get to the audit time and the auditor comes in and it doesn't tie to any your other financial information because everything's in a different spot. So yeah, that piece, just trying to get that all together, and the ability to have, not just the GL account on there, but again, if you use QuickBooks Online, you have the class function, you have the project function. Those are core functions for us in order to be able to talk to specific programs at a nonprofit, as well as track restricted donations. And hey, here's the dollars in, here's all the expenses against it. So, I mean, that's huge right there. And then the other piece where I think the card will really shine is like the cash management side, right? So I don't know if you alluded to this or not, but you could pay your bills and it's not going out of your checking account. You could put it right against the card account, which was a cool aha moment for me. And then you could just put all your spend there for a month. And let's say that's $10,000 or whatever it is, and you're extending your terms by 20 days. When that bill comes up to pay off that credit card, you know exactly how much that is. You can check your account as of that day, and you can make the decision that, in the nonprofit world, we have a lot of grants that are reimbursable by counties or states. Hey, I'm going to get this grant next week for $10,000. Maybe I want to make a smaller payment now and wait till that money comes in and pay a couple dollars interest in order to keep my cash flow level the way I want it. So it just gives you that extra time and point to make that decision around cash flow management, which I think is huge in a case, especially with nonprofits.
Jeremy, that's a great point. Yeah, our system and some of the other systems out there too in this category, you can the normal process for adding a funding source is a checking account. So, that's the kind of the core. But we have the ability to add a corporate card or a credit card as a funding source, even a debit card, if that's also connected to a bank account. But the point being is you can add a card as the source of funding if it and it doesn't have to be the Corpay card. It could be any Visa or MasterCard, and then you can use those funds to pay a bill. So could be your normal process. You just want to earn points for everything. Right. Perhaps a better process though is, hey, think about when you've got a big expense, you maybe have a gap in your cash flow, and it might be easier than taking out a credit line or extending your credit line further, just taking a short-term look at it, waiting for that next receivable or that grant reimbursement in this case to come in to pay it. So yeah, we give more flexibility now with the way to pay bills, as well as the paying of the bills, the efficiency of that process. So, and then with a modern business model, fees are super low or even non-existent. So then, and then it's all integrated. In this case, we're talking about QuickBooks with Jeremy, or Xero, so that your bill pay, your expense reimbursement, the card, all being integrated in at the same level with the same categories. So if
one
you're using
source of the truth, we love that.
Yes.
One source of the truth.
Yes, I know. It's a wonderful innovation. Yeah. And so, whether it's just whether it's classes or customers and jobs, projects, you can get very detailed with that process, and having it be all the same in the same system is super helpful. So with that's kind of the first segment, talking about bringing together card, bill pay, and expense reimbursement into one integrated platform. So have a call out for questions here. You've got the Q&A tab. If anybody's got questions about some of that specific to Corpay One or to technology and process, or any best practices in that area from Jeremy, please go ahead and ask. And
so, Bob, we do have a question here. Someone has written in, I'm looking for a way to scan in a document and have it saved with the date, vendor, amount, credit card used, etc. Can Corpay do that and actually have it saved in a format that I can save in any file?
So, great question. So let's see. The short answer is this appears to be a receipt or a paid bill because it includes a credit card used. So the first thing is, yes, we can scan in a receipt or a bill that's been paid. Let's say it's a recurring payment, a prepaid auto debit, and you're getting it every month, and you want to scan that. You want to capture the accounting data and have the image available. So yes, we do all of that, and we push the data and the image into the accounting system in that process too. Now, the last part of this question is, can it have it saved in a format that I can save in any file? So it would live in two places initially. It would be in Corpay One, and it would be in your core accounting system if you have that sync enabled. And that's just a setup step in settings. Most people default to yes. You can download that document at any time. So if you want to use it, grab it and put it somewhere else, then yes. But we're not automatically saving it to some other file system. So it automatically comes into Corpay One and the accounting system. So hopefully that answers Patrice's question.
Okay.
And
we have some questions too about the Corpay card, since you brought that up. So the Corpay card is integrated with QuickBooks, correct?
it is, yes. Yes.
Okay. And then does it need to sync directly with QuickBooks too, or how does that work?
So yeah, I mean, some accounting systems have a direct sync to bank information, and so a card could be one of those. So if you're syncing directly into Corpay, though, you wouldn't need that extra sync into QuickBooks. It would just be in Corpay One, and that data would automatically post into QuickBooks. So it's effectively syncing into QuickBooks by syncing into Corpay One. So that'd be there. And then yeah, I see one other about the rebates. We have rebates, and that's a 1.5% rebate for that corporate card. And how it works is each month spend gets there's a 1.5% rebate that offsets next month's bill. So you get immediate credit right away. So you get immediate advantage for your spend. So it's a great value for the business, and that's great. Okay, so
So do you want to continue on, and then we'll get back to some other questions later on?
let's do it. So next is a polling question.
Okay. Our next polling question is, how do you currently manage bill pay? And your answer options are: we don't offer bill pay yet. We're committed, planning on starting that soon. Getting started, still early and working to ramp up the practice area. We're in growth mode. We've defined processes and are scaling to grow the business. Or we're in maintain and improve mode, mature practice focusing on fine-tuning services and profits.
Yep, so we've got in this slide and this answer so far, it seems like we've got some similar distribution, but there's a little bit more newness on for those that are offering bill pay. Maybe it skews a little bit more to getting started. So, but very similar to the CAS practice question overall, offering client accounting services. So very similar. So, okay, makes sense. So for people that are offering CAS and bookkeeping services, they're a lot are already doing bill pay, it appears. So maybe not automated, but doing bill pay. So great. Okay, so next up, talking about some of the other innovation that's happening now in the world of accounting, and that's creating, intelligence around the process. And so in our system, we think about that less as artificial intelligence, but more like leveraging accountant intelligence. So we have an ability for you to leverage a tool that can help identify transactions that could be automated, or processes that need a little extra attention, a red flag to remind you to do something, or your team or your client. And so the benefits of investing in this area can help you be more focused, efficient, and ensuring more completeness around some of the more important things that come along in the accounting process during the year. So I'll explain a little bit about what this tool does, and there's a variety of things evolving in the market. And so you should take a look at how the solutions that you're working with today are innovating in this area. If they're not, maybe it's worth taking a look at what else is out there. So the core of this is that it's an if-then Boolean logic system. When something happens, do this. Very simple. And there's a bunch of triggers. And triggers are all kinds of things, like a bill amount could be a trigger, or the vendor, or the source. It came from a specific card or a specific bank or a specific employee or a team. And when it comes from that source, or we detect that amount, or we scan for a keyword, then we set up a process to do something specific. And so that's that's the first kind of the way it works. And then kind of the very most common workflow is to set up an approval process. And so you can have a very simple approval, and hopefully you can see this and it's not too small. And what you've got is in here with a simple approval, you could see the written out story. If a document's bill amount is greater than $100, require approval from any of the following coworkers. And this coworker, Lindsay Vaughn, one person we put in here. So it's very simple. If the bill's over $100, my demo account is Bob's Ski Chalet. So there we go, Lindsay Vaughn, our skier owner, and it should be Lindsay's Ski Chalet, I think. But anyway, so or a very sophisticated workflow. So for a nonprofit, say, that has a board and certain items require a lot more attention. So in this case, if a bill amount is greater than $5,000, then automatically add a note in the system. High dollar item requires board approval, and a note on the invoice, on the document added, board approval required over the amount. So and then we've got a multi-step process here. So the first being internally, hey, we want our team to take a look at this, and any one of these folks, any one of these three listed, Beth Dutton, Rip Wheeler, Casey Dutton. So any one of those takes a look. And then after that, it goes to the client. It goes up, and it has to require all of these two. So we want both of these people to approve it. And then last, it goes to the actual board, and then we want at least two of the following. So the point of this is sharing, hey, you can have a variety of ways that you tailor this process. And this is a more sophisticated workflow, but there's a bunch of things you could do based on what that particular client need is. So.
Yeah, and Bob, this is what sold me on it. Like, as the accountant, we love our workflow processes and building nested if-then statements in Excel documents to automate stuff. So like, this is doing it in a bill pay process, right? So like you alluded to, we always want to look at the document first. One of the biggest complaints we get is we get a whole bunch of garbage to approve as an approver. That's a statement, not an invoice. We get that first level, and to be able to exclude things right away before anybody else sees it. And then, as you talked about, like the crazy matrices of approvals that can happen at nonprofits, where it's got to go, director can do this, executive director is now over $500, treasurer over $1,000, board over $5,000. We build that all in, right? We don't want to have to babysit it. Just build it once, let the system work through the process, and then you can see every step where it's at, who the holdup is, contact them if necessary, all that. And then even got like creative with it. I have a great account manager on my team, and we have a client that has two very intermingled nonprofits that they run. And their biggest issue was, hey, we're paying bills or getting bills from the wrong software from the wrong entity to the wrong account. Things aren't going to our software, and then the expenses are wrong. So she added a custom field within the software that we're getting everybody to email things into the inbox. And once that's emailed, they have to look at it, and they have to note what entity it's for. And if they pick the wrong entity for that inbox, it immediately kicks it back to them as an error, saying, nope, this is wrong, try again. Then it's deleted, and they have to go and send it to the correct one. And just that, having for us to police that takes it off our plate, gets to the owner of the document so they can say it and it's under the right entity and we get it through the approval process therein. So, I mean, just the options that are out here to automate a busy work has been awesome.
That's fantastic. I love that. Accountant intelligence at work. That's the idea. And so talking about more advanced capabilities, there's a bunch of things that we're seeing firms do, and so that's a great example of taking a custom question, making that part of workflow, and enforcing a rule. And so here's a few others that we're seeing as popular types of workflow. So a lot of transactions are the same every month, and they really don't add a lot of value to have an approval, other than, for some clients they want to approve a payment for cash flow reasons, but you're paying your rent, you're going to pay your internet bill, and so in this particular workflow, we're scanning for a specific vendor name. And if it comes through Xfinity or ABC Property Management and the price change is less than 10%, require approval from nobody, and it flows right into the accounting system, right into the payment process, and it'll pay according to the terms of the invoice. So whatever by the end of the month. Similar but different. We're also seeing a lot of recurring transactions that are paid. So there's an auto debit or a credit card paid bill, and the receipt comes in, and you need to capture that information. So we're not actually making any payments for those receipts or a paid bill or a paid invoice, but there is a need to capture the accounting. So then but you want to be very careful about any of these. So you go for a very specific vendor name. If it comes from any of these specific recurring bills and the price change is less than 10%, again, you can customize that to be any particular number. Then require approval from nobody. But in this case, mark it as paid. We're not going to pay the bill again. But we do want to capture the document. We want the document to flow into QuickBooks or Xero, wherever, and record that and do the coding and save time. So the idea is, we're automating as much as possible so we could focus on what matters, focus on what counts, and automate the rest. So kind of along the lines of Jeremy's, checking to validate accuracy, there's another one here, a new vendor check. So, hey, anytime there's a new vendor, note, hey, we need to get the W-9. Is it a vendor you're going to require W-9? If so, then, send that one. In this case, we're sending that to Ted on the team. He looks after new vendors and W-9s. So you could set that up to work a bunch of ways. And our team, when you come on board, we show you how to use this, and show you some of the standard workflows. And Jeremy, your team's, you've adopted it and used it well. How easy or difficult is this part of the product to use?
I mean, it's really not. I mean, you have to have an analytical brain, right, to do it. But like all the steps are there. It's drag and drop into things. So it's not, you don't need to be a coder or something to have to do this. It's really just take the steps and follow it. And I love how you brought up the percent deviation from cost and bringing in W-9 forms. Those are features that you get from heavy ERP systems like SAP. I was in the manufacturing world for 15 years doing hardcore accounting. And, in purchasing, you want some of those things in place where it just takes away not value-added time, right? So you put what you're comfortable with and just let it go. And this allows you to do that with your small businesses and your nonprofits that are using a much cheaper tool that fits their needs right now, like the Xero or the QBO.
Yeah, I love it. So, yeah, that's what we're finding. That this is a place where people are using, and hey, most of us in the accounting world are pretty analytical, and so you mentioned, using if then statements or Excel. Excel's great training for using this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of triggers. Another is keywords. So we could just be scanning for, let's say you've got a specific grant, and any kind of words associated with this particular activity could be reviewed as potentially assignable to a particular grant, as one example. So, or if it's jobs, or if it's a construction client, or professional services, if it's a project. So some great tools there for that type of accounting. So that brings us to any questions in this area.
Okay, we do have a handful of questions here. First of all, going back to the corporate card, are there any fees associated with that card?
So there's no annual fee. There's no monthly fees. A late payment fee, if those kinds of things, but those are kind of standard. So yeah, it's basically a very low cost card as well. So no upfront fees, no monthly fees, just like the bill pay system. No software fees, no approver fees, and as I think Jeremy, no ACH or check fees. So it's nearly free. We've got a modern business model, and so we make money on the transactions themselves that move through the system, and we don't have to charge for the software. So we can add a lot of value for the firm and for the client because of that. And yeah, so another question I see here. Most of my clients pay the majority of their bills on a credit card. So do I need Corpay? So that's a good question. I guess it depends. If you'd find use in having us doing the capturing of those documents and the coding of the information and the syncing to accounting, I think we could probably save you a lot of time. So I think there's probably value there. That would be my guess. And we'd be happy to explore that with you. If you want to give us a call, we could talk about the specific situations for those clients. And then for when they do have bills to pay, the bill pay system is there as well. And so.
Okay, and do you guys sync with QuickBooks Desktop?
We do. Yes, we do. We sync with QuickBooks Desktop. We have a two-way sync with QuickBooks Online. Right now, we have a one-way sync with QuickBooks Desktop. We're looking at expanding that to bi-directional and doing more there. But yeah, it's kind of core basic level, does a good solid integration with desktop.
Cool.
Okay. Yes, and there is one question of, I'm in South Africa. We don't offer services in South Africa yet. North America, well, US, UK, and Denmark today is where we are. And yeah, we were founded in Denmark and San Francisco, so that's why Denmark popped up. So, but we'll be growing internationally over time. All right. So we've got a few more minutes, and I've got really one, kind of this is where I think sometimes firms might look to see where we could add value. You may already have a process in place that is working, and we can help you, automate with other situations. So sometimes we find that firms that are already using a bill pay system are doing things manually for small clients because the monthly fees for software are a little high. So that's one. Jeremy's situation where you've got a lot of potential approvers with some nonprofits. Some of the other systems out there charge a lot for approver licenses as well. So they charge you for each user. So it kind of adds up when you have a board member or say 3 or 5 board members and they don't have stuff to approve every month, but occasionally, sometimes people don't automate that when they could. So that I think is another important one. They've got a lot of complicated or sophisticated approval requests where they like to bring in card expense tracking. Of course, the other is the solution's just great, and it's also very low cost. So if you're looking to replace, like one of our several firms have joined and have reduced their need for their current bill pay expense reimbursement and scanning solution with one system. So eliminated 3 different monthly fees and replaced it with one solution that doesn't have a monthly fee. So that was a huge win. So anyway, those are some possible benefits, and I think this would be a good time for our last poll question before final Q&A.
Okay, our last poll question is, are you interested in learning more about Corpay One? And your answer options are yes, I'm interested in improving my technology stack in the year ahead. Yes, I'm considering changes to my technology stack with my long-range planning, or no, I'm just here to collect CPE credit. So go ahead and post your answer to that.
Yes. All answers are welcome.
Yeah.
We got a few CPEers out there. I get you. Oh, there we go.
All right.
2 yeses. There we go. 2 different yes questions, so I've got an unfair advantage. Hopefully, I'll be able to run up the score.
All right.
Well, thank you for that. For those interested, we'll follow up, and you can always reach out. And we've got a dedicated accountant team here, and they understand the process. They understand the relationship you have with clients, and we train them up a little more deeply, and they're a good crew. So, all right. So back to kind of final questions. So that really covers it for me, though. But Jeremy, do you have any other thoughts or recommendations for folks?
Yeah, I mean, if I know that first poll, there were a lot of people that aren't doing bill pay processes, but when you're running a supporting organization like this, at some point you're supporting all of those efforts anyway, whether that's creating checks that they're printing out themselves or logging on to their own banks to do bill pay. So you're likely spending some time in this space already to get it, to really consider finding a tool that you can put it together. And I'm trying to you try to roll it out to your staff, right? It's one tool. It's not like, hey, I need to go to this bank and go to this link and to go to here to do bill pay. No, it's one SOP document we have. Here's how you use Corpay to pay bills. Here's how you do the workflows, all that stuff. So I think in a lot of instances, you're spending time as an organization already dealing with bill pay, and again, doesn't add cost to you. And the piece that I love is I can pass it along to nonprofits who are typically very strapped for resources at a very minimal cost to them, just for us to help support it and increase our revenue for something that we're probably supporting in some fashion anyway, right? So, yeah.
Nice. So let's see, a couple questions here. One, what do we do for auditors who have clients that are used to seeing that, or auditors used to seeing a manual stamp in a signing process? maybe hesitant to adopt new technology. So, one of the, that's a great question. And one of the things we have is a very detailed audit process. So any change, when the document was uploaded, who it came from, where it came from, any of those steps are recorded in the process, and you can see that. So you still have that audit trail. In fact, it's more detailed, and you see precise times and the who. I don't know, Jeremy, you have this situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, nearly every one of our clients is audited, and we have to go through this. The piece you have to think about is you need to put little tweaks into the documentation to say you're changing the process. But yes, there's a timeline feature within Corpay One where it, just like you alluded to, every single, here's where the bill was entered, here's where it went to the first level approver, approved on this day, second level, all the way up to when the vendor was notified by email to get paid, it was actually paid this day. So the documentation within it is easier for the auditor to get behind, and whether it's a screenshot or something else, when they want to know, like, give me all the detail on this bill, here you go. It's good. So yeah, I think it's actually benefits that. The only piece that you need to invest a little time is making sure the documentation on the process is updated to this, but those are typically minor tweaks as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Jeremy. Yeah. And thank you for joining us today. I think that exhausts our questions. The other question was a CPE question, so maybe Gail, you can handle that after I thank everyone. And so yeah, thank you again, Jeremy, for sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for joining. Gail, thanks for hosting us. It's a pleasure to be associated with CPA Practice Advisor. Respect your events and conferences, and look forward to continuing to work with you and support the profession.
Well, thanks so much, both of you, Bob and Jeremy, for an excellent presentation and for sharing your insights with us today. We truly appreciate it. We'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar, and thank Corpay One for making this event possible and for enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to each attendee. And speaking of CPE, you will receive a link later in your email for your CPE certificate. And so look for a message this afternoon from CPA Practice Advisor, and that will include the link to download your certificate. If others were watching this event with you at the same computer and require CPE credit, you can email their names and addresses, their names and email addresses to me, and I'll make sure that they get their credit as well. So for that, or for any questions you have about CPE, you can contact me directly at gperry, Gperry, at cpapracticeadvisor.com. After this event ends, in just a moment, you will be presented with a post-event survey evaluation form. We hope you'll share your feedback with us so we can continue to improve our webinar series. Again, thank you, everyone, and our audio will end now.